Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 43, Episode 2. That's right, I'm your host, Chris, and I'm back here with Jake as we're going to be talking about Episode 2. Jake, how's things been on your end?
Been good. Another busy week of just school and work, but Survivor's always a bright light in my week, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. Christian Gal, first person to comment in the live. Welcome back as always. Apologies for those that did want to watch the live and saw the time move quite a bit this week. I did have a little bit of a conflict where I was doing some challenge trivia night content with Drew from the Angel Cake Entertainment channel, and I've just done that for 3 hours, and I'm coming straight into this. So this is my 4th hour of podcasting, Jake, but I'm bringing the energy.
You're killing it, Chris. You got a lot on your plate.
Yep, I've got, I'm not sponsored by these guys, but I got a little bit of Musashi energy to get me through this podcast. But I don't know even if Musashi's energy will get me at the same level of energy that Cody has. Like, Cody was, once again, for a second week in a row here, Jake, he's just all over the show, all over the shop, trying to climb everything on the island, trying to climb all these different rocks, jumping into the ocean. He's just having, he's just living.
He's living like it says on his ass. I mean, I've always wondered, like, why is, like, look at the cool scenery out there. Look at the, like, why is no one, like, going exploring? Maybe they are, they're just not showing it. But, like, it was cool to see that because, like, Fiji is absolutely beautiful. So, I mean, I would totally be, like, jumping off cliffs. That would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Let's say hello to a few more people here in the live jumping in. Zudu Man, who just watched the live trivia as well. Welcome.
Chris cut out, or did I cut out?
Hey guys, we're back. Apologies for that. My computer just shut itself down, and maybe I feel like the computer has also had it after 3 hours of live streaming. But
it was like, I need a break.
Right, like, you've been going too long. I was just going to say hello to everybody here in the live stream. So we've got Zuduman in the live stream. We've got Ditzy K in the live stream. Chris saying Chris is fresh off his 3rd place trivia. That was tough, Chris. That was more difficult than what I thought, but I also did better than I thought. I didn't end up with a goose egg, which is always a good start. And Zuduman saying, dang, I really cursed live. Well, we're just starting from scratch. I might just cut the first bit, do it from here for the audio version, and welcome everybody back to the Nullified Take channel, where we're going to be talking about Survivor 43. We're going to be talking about Episode 2. And we're going to start right from the beginning, I guess. We go back to the Baka tribe on this specific episode, and the Baka tribe got a lot of content for a tribe that did not go to tribal council this week. What did you think of that?
I was watching with my dad, and after the immunity challenge, they went back to Baka, even though they didn't lose. And I was like, oh, Gabler's quitting. He's going to quit because, they had been, like, kind of showing that he'd been struggling, and they never go back to the other tribe that doesn't win. So I was shocked, but it's always good to just get more content than expected. So it was a pleasant surprise, and then obviously Gabler didn't end up quitting. So it was cool to see.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because they go back to the Baka tribe. We get Owen thanking everybody, talking about the people that he trusts. He specifically mentions everyone except for Janine. Janine's the only person he does not mention in that. And then in this specific episode, when we're in the Baka tribe, Janine goes through Gabler's bag at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you get this next on Survivor, oh, they went through my bag. Well, then I don't trust them. How much trouble is Janine right now in from a count of 0 to 10? Where would you put her on that radar of 0 being no trouble whatsoever? She's making it to the merge. 10, she is in deep doo-doo by the time next episode 3 hits.
I mean, just off the preview, I'd say like 8 or 9, but because clearly it has to be Owen rats on her. Sammy wasn't there. Gabler wasn't there. So Owen, or, Ellie's not telling Gabler, so it's got to be Owen. And then I guess that leaves Owen in the middle to like go with either Ellie and Janine or Gabler and Sammy, but I feel like he's going to go with the Gabler and Sammy. So I would say she's in a lot of trouble unless they decide to go for Ellie. I don't know why they would, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, I think she's in a lot of trouble, and you make a good point. Owen is the person that is sitting in that group there, and I think that there's a level of the girls, not Janine necessarily, because I feel like she's very aware of her position in the tribe. She does this out of necessity because she knows that if they go to tribal council next, Gaber plays the idol. She doesn't have the connections with the boys that Ali has. I feel like she knows she's in trouble. So some people will say bad move to do it while Owen is there. But in a tribe of 6, you've got to trust someone, and you can't just trust the other girl and Ali. You need to bring another person in. And in her mind, Owen and Sammy, they're working with both of them, and they're choosing which one of these 2 boys they're going to keep. What did you think of the arrogance to a certain level of Ali thinking that she's got both Owen and also Sammy in her back pocket?
It's funny. This season is giving some parallels to 41, where we've got the yellow tribe has some, we'll say, confident women on it, and the blue tribe is non-existent. But it's different because on the yellow tribe, the women don't even have the numbers. They're in the minority. There's 3 guys. They voted out one of the women. So it's real puzzling to see the confidence talking about like, oh, it's a done deal, one of them's gone, when they don't even know for sure. And yeah, Ellie had some kind of condescending confessionals towards Owen. I was thinking like, man, Owen's being like belittled compared to Sammy, the literal teenager. Like that's gotta make him feel good. So it's a bit confusing. I was a bit confused by it.
Yeah, it was an interesting, sort of confessional she had where she basically said they're both like his children, and Owen's like the youngest son that needs all the help and things around camp, and then Sammy is like the oldest, even though they're the other way around, and that he's like more independent and can just do his own thing. But I get where she's coming from. Like, I think Ellie's killing it in the confessionals. Now, it's condescending, but is it entertaining? Yes. Is she telling a story? Is she narrating a story? She's doing a good job on that side. Every time I see her in the confessionals as well, I can't help now but see Michelle. Like, I just feel like she is Michelle 2.0 now. Will she be as good as Michelle? The jury's still out on that, because I do feel like she's underestimating these boys, because they're sitting back at camp, and while these 2 girls are walking around, they're saying, let's look out for each other. Let's make sure that if any of our names come up or any of us are going to be at risk, that we talk to each other, which is probably where Owen's going to go next week and talk to Gabler to say, hey, they're plotting against you. They looked at your idol. Plus, if Gabler's not going to go home next vote, what's Owen's best move here? You need the person's vote that's not going home. So he has to get close with them. He has to get close with the boys. And like Sammy said, it wasn't the game he came in wanting to play, boys versus girls. But if the shoe fits, then wear it. At this stage, it is in his best interest to stick with the boys, right?
No. Well, I mean, it is the best interest, but I was going to say, like, he's being forced into having to play this boys versus girls. I mean, it was the women that are now making it that way, which is and they don't have, it's just kind of confusing all around. Maybe there's some more context that we're not seeing, and this is, but had a lot of I feel like Ellie was really hyped up preseason and after episode 1. I can still see it happening, but if we're just going off of this episode, I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, Christian is saying Sammy and Gabler could be in trouble next week to be out. I don't see it that way. I think that Janine is a lock to go in that tribe if they go back to tribal council. I guess Gabler, if he does that whole self-righteousness, I'm not going to play my idol because I lost the challenge with the tribe, so I should be eligible to go home. Then maybe he could go home. But I feel like if he knows people are looking for his idol, he's going to feel a different type of pressure. He's only got one more tribal council he can use it in, so why not use it? Why not guarantee your safety when you know people are plotting against you? It just makes sense you play the idol, and I don't feel like Owen knows that Sammy would cut him at the right time. But I am not willing to write out Baka between us, Jake, as a potential to be the dominant tribe if they get to emerge together. If they can keep their numbers together, I do think that this tribe focusing on relationships before strategy could serve them well deeper in the game.
It's funny, you see the past couple seasons, some of the most dominant players have come from the tribes that are kind of looking troubling in the first couple episodes. Like last season with Taku, I mean, they killed it. 4 of them were the final 6, but they had someone medically removed from the game, episode 1. Then episode 2, they lost and had to vote someone out. And then they just didn't lose for the rest of the time. So it could happen again. I think that Gabler, it would be a real bad move by Owen if he is the one to rat out Janine and tell Gabler. And then if Gabler just does so bad at the challenge and he's like just so weak and he's still struggling at camp that, but then he still has the idol. So I don't even know what I'm saying because he's still safe.
He can keep himself safe unless he outplays himself. Unless he plays himself.
Basically, I agree with you. If they lose, it's a done deal. It's going to be Janine.
It has to be. It just makes sense based on how the edit is coming together, based on how the numbers are shaking up. I just think it's Janine. But you're right. The only potential risk there is for Gabler at this point is him potentially saying, I am a liability to the tribe. I should be eligible to be voted out because I'm struggling to keep up with you guys, because he's got this weird moral compass that does not fit within Survivor. I'm glad we're seeing it because I don't want all 20 survivors out there or 18 or however many they've got this season. I don't want them all to be exactly the same. One of the big gripes that I've had with Survivor in recent times for Survivor US have been that, yes, we're getting diversity in the cast when it comes to outward diversity and how people look, which is great. I like that. But I feel like we're getting people all thinking the same. Game body type of players, people that are so afraid to piss people off and potentially get backlash on social media. Give me diversity in thought as well as diversity in the backgrounds or the ethnicities and all these. Like, all of that's good, but don't lose sight on diversity of thought. That's my key thing. So I'm glad we've got a guy like this who is out there playing his own game. I might not agree with it. I might think it's crazy, but it's making for entertaining TV because he's got other people around him like Owen that would never do that. And what did you think of the little Owen segment where he went to go get the water? And he was saying, like, he's a little, what's it, a Kermunchkin or something like that? What does that mean? Like, it's lost on me. Yeah, what does that mean?
So that's usually, it's just somebody that's really grumpy all the time and just, pouting and, like, kind of just not pleasant to be around, which is, when I saw that episode title, I figured it was about Gabler because it's usually used as an older person. Like, Rudy, that's a curmudgeon. Rudy from season 1, that is like the epitome of a curmudgeon. And I'm like, Owen is a curmudgeon? Like, that's a very, I don't know how he is in real life, but in Survivor, I haven't seen that at all. Like I said, I thought it was going to be about Gabler, so that was weird. Also, like, I was cracking up at Owen when he went to go get the water, and as he was walking back, he was spilling it everywhere, and he was like muttering to himself, like, make him go get the water. Oh, how dare they? They're so lazy. That cracked me up.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it might mean that he's a little bit neurotic or something like that, because I do feel like he is a little bit like that.
He is.
He's keeping it under wraps, like he's saying. He's like trying to like be pleasant around camp, and it must be a difficult thing to do because they haven't had proper food, they haven't had proper hydration while they're out there, and we take for granted how difficult it is for you to not be who you are at your root when everything is taken away from you. And they do show, because it's a long episode, they show them out there struggling. They show the storm, them talking about having to fix the shelter the next day. We've seen it in many Survivor seasons, but obviously on an episode that's a little bit longer, they can show us a little bit of that elements that they're fighting against out there. So not a pleasant time at all. But straight after this segment where we saw a little bit of this Baka tribe, we go to Vesey, the Red tribe, and this is where we get Dwight and Jesse out walking around. Dwight's looking for advantages, and they become a thing suddenly in this episode where they're naturally gravitating towards each other. Jesse is trying to find his survivor husband or survivor wife, which Dwight is going to become here. But it's interesting because it shows Jesse is really the best player in Vesey at this stage. Like, he is hands down, if I had to put money on somebody right now to win this season, like, Jesse is right at the top of my list of people. Obviously, it sucks because he's not in my fantasy tribe, but you must be feeling good about how he's playing this game here, because not only does he have Cody and Neka, he's also got Dwight on the other side here, trying to build some trust or a level of being able to work with him at this point in the game.
Yeah, I think Jesse is absolutely living up to his preseason hype. He along with Ellie were getting a lot of hype. I think it was more so for Jesse about his kind of story of like being in a gang, which is awesome. And then now it's super cool to see him like, someone with a really cool story and like actually has the game to come with it. I am a little bit troubled about Dwight, because I think he was not happy about the outcome of this episode, but I mean, he has no other options. So, I mean, what is he going to do? So I think Jesse kind of put him in a corner. He just says, okay, Dwight, you go in that corner. I'm going to do whatever I want, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So
if you're in Jesse's situation after this tribal, you've just betrayed Dwight. He's upset with you. If he is going to continue to be that upset at camp afterwards, do you think it's in Jesse's best interest to start working in Noel now that she doesn't have that tight person that she's been with, and try and pull her in rather, because Dwight might be a problem down the line if he doesn't control his emotions and he's real upset? Do you want to take this person into a merge where they could potentially flip on you and go somewhere else? Because I feel like Jesse gave him plenty of warning throughout this episode. He constantly said to him, listen, I'm leaning towards Justine. Justine's where I want to go. And then Dwight was trying to like he tried to put it on Jesse, but he didn't have a vote. Like, he didn't deserve to tell Jesse what to do here, because he risked his vote in episode 1, which he should never have done in a 6-person tribe. Like, it's like, Dwight, this is 100% your fault, not Jesse's fault. That's his vote, not your vote.
Yeah. I think that Jesse, the game plan for Jesse is not to go with Noel. I think it's to mend bridges with Dwight. Kind of, nicely say to him, sorry, this is kind of your fault. Like, you lost your vote, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's got to kind of show him like, hey, I kind of did what I had to do, like Justine was scaring the crap out of me. And I have faith that he can like work with Dwight. I think Dwight is reasonable. I would be very shocked if he like went scorched earth on like the Red tribe, because that's just not smart. You're just one guy, and Jesse is kind of all he has. I mean, we've seen that Dwight and Cody they're not really bonding at all. It seemed like, other than Jesse, Justine was kind of the person that Dwight was bonding with the most, and now she's gone. So I think Dwight is kind of just going to have to suck it up and stay with Jesse at this point.
Yeah, so interesting thing here, Christian brings up that Noel is going to be a free agent at the merge and someone that's going to jump probably more so than Dwight. But there is that scene here where Cody and Noel kind of have a bit of a moment. They're seen as potentially bonding over the fact that Cody had a friend when he was at school that lost his leg due to cancer. He lost his friend very early on, which gives us a better understanding as to why Cody lives his life the way that he does. He's a free spirit. He doesn't think about things too much. He just jumps headfirst into everything in life, because he's seen how brutal life can be to someone that doesn't deserve it so young. Obviously, all of us probably have stories where we can think about people we've lost in our lives, or a lot of people do. If you don't, count yourself one of the lucky ones that haven't had to go through that. But that's a good way to look at life from an early age, to know, like, listen, I need to put it all out there. I need to live my life to the best. But he does want to get close to Noel. I do think that Cody could be the person who could bring Noel in. And Cody is closer to Neca, I feel like, than Jesse. I feel like Cody and Neca are really tight. So Jesse does need to find that next person. I think Jesse and Cody is extremely tight as well. But Cody is, when you look at it currently, I feel like he's the best set up in that trio, because he's got both Neca and Jesse on both ends. I don't know how good Neca feels about Cody at the end of this episode, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But, they seem to be pretty tight. It's a tight threesome. But I feel like it could still go either way, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if Noel or Dwight is necessarily going to be the choice here, because we haven't heard Cody's point of view there. If he's not feeling good with Dwight, Dwight's not feeling good with him. He's also got Neca on the other side. Very easily Noel could be pulled in.
And that's exactly why Dwight needs to just let it go.
Stay quiet. Yeah, like you can't win all the battles. And you didn't have a vote, son. Like, if you had a vote, fair enough. You did not have a vote. Like, it's your fault that Justine is gone.
Like, he has every right in the world to be, like, upset that it didn't go the way he wanted it to, but he can't let that affect it going forward. He needs to, because exactly as you said, I didn't even think of it. Cody might want to bring in Noel now, because I think if he had the choice, it would probably be like, well, maybe I can, like, try to mend bridges with Noel. I just voted out her closest ally, but, like, I kind of had a little, felt a little chemistry with her, so maybe try to bring her in. Dwight needs to, like, really suck up.
He needs to zip
those
it.
three.
He definitely needs to zip it. Now, in this segment as well, we see why Jesse's getting annoyed with Justine a little bit here. She walks around, sees spiders everywhere. She's telling him what to do at camp. She seems high maintenance, and probably on an island such as this, when you've got one person being Cody that makes you laugh all the time, is easy to manage, runs around, makes jokes, he's not somebody you have to, you think you don't have to manage him until the end of this episode, but, you feel like you don't have to manage him that much. He's just a good, bright light around camp. And then you've got Justine, who's constantly paranoid, constantly draining on you. You're always going to go one way. And I feel like if Justine could look at one thing that was the reason for her to go home here, was being open about the fact that she can be deceitful and just being high maintenance around camp.
And don't forget, Chris, she's a salesperson.
She's a salesperson. That definitely stuck.
It's just hilarious that Cody was able to, because I think that Jesse would have noticed those things regardless. But I think that after hearing what Cody had said, that she's a salesperson, I think everything that she said just were made 1,000 times worse. Yeah. So I think it was 1,000% the right move. She and her coming up to Jesse and was like, "So I'm not really sure if you're trustworthy. So what are you planning on doing tonight?" I sat there with my jaw dropped. I was like, "What?" Like, she thinks she's in trouble, yet she has the audacity to say this. I was shocked. I mean, I think she was really hyped up in the preseason, and I think she's kind of showing that, like, she didn't really know. I don't think she really knew the game too much. I feel like there's a few how many of these people do you think are like new school Survivor fans that only really got into it when the pandemic hit? Because we know there's a few of them that said. Cody was one of them. I think he said he started watching during the pandemic, which is fine. Like, I'm not discriminating against, like, people that are not older fans, but I think that having that knowledge of, like, there's just some things you just don't say. You don't say that you're a good liar. You don't say to people to their face that they're untrustworthy when you're trying to get them on your side. So I thought it was entertaining to see. I'm trying to remember
what my thoughts on her was when I picked her in the order that I picked her, because she was the second girl that I picked. Yeah, well, can you remember what I said?
I think you said something, and I agreed with you, by the way. So that she had, like, Kim Spradlin upside, because she's like a strong woman. She deals with
but I said that could be a bad thing. I remember saying, like, yes, she's got Kim Spradling up vibes. She's clearly an alpha female, but people could see that as a threat out there, like, because
Mm-hmm.
people are looking out for that, and that's literally what happened with her. I feel like she is someone that probably in life is very successful and gets things her way, and being like the only female in a male dominant industry, like selling and
Yeah.
tech sales, I thought she might be intimidating to a lot of guys, which she ended up being. Like, Cody was intimidated very early on by her and wanted to get rid of her, so but yeah, she was the second girl that I picked. Didn't go too well for me. I'm just, while we're here on this, I might as well move it out of it, which means that I'm now 2 players down. You've still got 2 players on me. It's not been a good start for me here, Jake. Like, I mean, I'm coming off a win on Survivor South Africa and the Challenge USA, but I feel like things are going pretty rough for me at this point. You should be feeling pretty comfortable with both Jesse and Ellie quite high up in your list there.
Yeah, you got super lucky I wasn't involved in South Africa, because I would have won that too. I think that I am in for some. I don't know, because I have all the blue people. You have one person from blue. I have 5, and I'm just so, I don't know what's going to happen with them, because they were, other than Ryan and Gio, they were kind of, which were the 2 people
hold your thoughts on the blue trap, because we're going to go into that next. I just quickly want to bring up a comment here in the live stream. Jerome Lange here asking, the question is, why did it take someone like Cody 20 plus years to watch the greatest game on earth? I find it extremely odd you need a pandemic to catch on to that. Now, Jake, you're over in the US. You will know and understand better than anybody else. How big is Survivor in the US? How many people in the US currently watches Survivor? And are you as shocked as Jerome that Cody didn't know about this show? Because from memory, the early seasons had about 40 million people watching it back in season 1 and season 2, but currently we're getting closer to like 4 or 5 million people watching an episode, and the US has got like 300 and something million people.
Yeah, so I am not surprised. I'm not surprised when I meet someone who has never heard of Survivor, because if it's like somebody a bit older, like I would be a bit shocked, like, oh, you've never even heard of it, like from the 2000s, like, because it was massive. Like, it was premiered right before the Super Bowl in 2001, and it had like just as many people watching it, which is ridiculous. But nowadays it's like, it has like, I think it has like the perfect fan base of like enough
It's
people
niche.
know about it. Yeah, but like it's not like mainstream. So
but Cody's 35. Cody's 35. Cody would have been like prime age to watch it back in the day. Like, if you think about it, like
he probably heard of it back when it was happening. His parents probably watched it. But it just doesn't reach some people. That's just how it is. But
yeah, Jerome's saying Borneo was a gigantic success, and
huge.
I agree. It was
huge.
massive success. But these days, I'm similar to you, Jake. I'm not surprised if people don't know about Survivor, because it is, I think, very niche these days. The fandom has continued to go down and down in numbers. Like, globally, a lot of people, I almost sometimes wonder, do you feel like, Jake, maybe there's globally even more people that watch Survivor than in the US itself? Like, I feel like there's so many fans globally that know about it. And like, if you're getting 5 million people watching it per episode, I bet you there's more than 5 million people globally that watch it.
I think that's true for the like online community, because you're right. It's crazy how many people I see like on YouTube or on Reddit who are like, oh yeah, I live in, random European country and I love the show. I'm like, how do you even know about it? That's crazy. And it seems like so many people are from like Australia or South Africa or the UK and
Philippines, man. The Philippines go crazy for Survivor. Like, honestly, the amount of people that are from the Philippines have messaged me all the time that are massive fans.
They have their own Survivor, I believe.
I believe so. Yeah.
So, but overall, I think sometimes we forget a lot of Survivor's viewers every week on Wednesday are just middle-aged couples that just are like, oh yeah, Survivor, it's on. Okay, let's watch. They don't go online. They're not like super fans. They probably don't even remember what happened in season 42, which is fine. That's fine. Yeah. Like, if you enjoy the show, you enjoy the show the way you want to. But in terms of the online community, for sure, I think it's like the percentages are very close for people in the US and people not.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know for a fact, I can speak from a South African perspective. Like in South Africa, people love Survivor. Like they'll watch Survivor South Africa. They know everything about Australian Survivor. They know everything about Survivor US. They watch all the franchises, and it's massive over there. I mean, to the point where when Rob and Amber played The Amazing Race and they did a leg in South Africa, people recognized them and helped them in the leg to actually get ahead and be like, oh, they're from Survivor, we love you, type of thing. So yeah, it's interesting. But Sandy here says that now it's like, oh, that show's still on, but back then Survivor is a social phenomenon. Even the contestants become mini celebrities. Yes, and I guess everybody is sort of agreeing with us there. I feel like that's a good podcast to have separate to this recap. And now that I'm solely more focused on Survivor and I'm more focused on maybe The Amazing Race, like maybe I get a little bit of an off season, which I haven't had this year yet. So me and you can do some of these topics a little bit more about what does Survivor need to do next to become massive again, because I still feel like the core of the game is amazing. Like, I mean, it's a game we all fell in love with for a reason, and there is a reason that there's still a diehard fandom there. And I do think that there is things that they could do to get viewers back on to watch this show. And, you know, casting great people, like I feel like, I mean, we might 3-4 episodes into this, Jake, we might regret saying this, but at this point, absolute slam dunk. I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's a great cast. But let's go over to the Blue Tribe. Let's go over to Coco, which is the one that you wanted to talk about a little bit. They only got one segment this whole episode.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people get confessionals from them as well. Like, I feel like there wasn't much confessionals this episode from everyone there. But Carla did get to talk a little bit about her relationship with Lindsay and with Cassidy. Both Lindsay and Cassidy, I feel like they didn't even have a confessional this episode. I'll have to check the stats. Yeah, later on. But she talks about the fact that they're close, and then James didn't get a confessional, which I was high on James week 1. I was like, James could still be a winner. Well, I don't know now. Like, he didn't get a single confessional this episode.
We don't know anything at this point after 41 and 42. After seeing Erica win, I mean, she just kind of broke all the rules.
I don't think we get the same type of winner. I'm calling it. I do not think this winner
you think
for
she
this
was
season.
You think she was an exception?
I feel like Erica and Marianne, that type of win. I know Marianne, it was clarified on the podcast last week for me that they didn't see Marianne win. But I feel like even with Erica, it's a similar type of win where it was like the undercover, under the radar player that sort of really showed up at the end. And I feel like people are looking out for it this season. Like, I think like there's a higher likelihood we get a big player win this season. I'm calling it. Like, I feel like, you know, Ellie is coming across as a big player. Jesse is coming across as a big player. Cody's going to be a massive player this season if the longer he stays. And at the moment, he's looking good, it's going to be good for the season to have him on the longer he's there. Sammy is a big personality. He's sitting pretty at the moment. Owen is good. I just don't know. Like, I mean, who's the Erica of this season? Like Cassidy? Maybe? Could still be.
Maybe. I don't know, but I think we're just this is episode 2. We're getting so far ahead, but I will say, like, after having Tony win season 40, like, that was just, you know, super awesome. But I liked that we kind of got to see 2 other winners that weren't like that at all.
You need it
sometimes.
sometimes.
Quite opposite. And now, after having those, I'd like to see something different from that. So, I feel like Survivor used to. I feel like they hit a lull in the 30s where, like, every winner was just kind of like an alpha male type guy. You know, maybe they played a bit differently, but, like, in terms of, like, appearance, they were all kind of the same. So I'd like to see a bit more diversity of the winners type, the type of game that they play now. So I would love to see a big player win again.
I don't care if the person's an alpha male, alpha female, beta, delta, whatever the hell you want to call it, as long as I'm seeing what they're doing in the game. And that's what was so frustrating for me with some of the wins that we've seen in recent times, where it's just, okay, I don't know how to take this. Like, you know, why did they show so little of, anyways, different winners. I think different podcasts. Let's talk about it in a different time. But I agree with you. Sometimes you've got to go through the pain of seeing 2 winners win in a way that you don't like, which I'm not saying everybody, like the fandom absolutely stand both those wins. And that's fine. Like, I don't hate anyone for loving the Erica Marianne win. Just wasn't my cup of tea. I enjoy the bombastic players, the ones that, you know, it's kind of like the Codys. They're out there, they're in front. That's just what I enjoy. But just as some people don't enjoy that, you know, they don't like the Natalie Andersons of this world that are also that type of player. that's okay with me. Not everybody has to like the same type of winner. So like you said, you do need diversity in that. But I'm thinking this season we've got so many big personalities that I'm hoping that we see them go to the end and win this season. But again, in Coco, who are those personalities? Because I feel like the whole story arc, this specific episode, was to say, us three girls are tight. James is going to come with us. We're going to probably split up Gio and Ryan. And we saw Gio and Ryan's sort of duo grow. And my thinking is they're going to cut Gio. He's probably the lowest man on the totem pole. And Ryan is going to become a big character this season because he will split as soon as he gets an opportunity because of how close he is with Gio. That's how I see this story unfold currently. How are you seeing it?
I think that's a very good prediction. To be honest, I did not even think very far when I saw this segment. I was just like, oh yeah, they're just kind of reassuring us like, hey, nothing's really changed from episode 1. Us four, the 3 girls plus James, are still tight. Gio and Ryan are still kind of, but Carla, she still kind of likes Gio. You know, they just kind of repeated the same stuff, and then they showed kind of the backstory. The way I sort of saw it was, yeah, one of those two is gone, and they're just kind of, you know, giving them their flowers to just like, you know, let them share more of their.
It's not Ryan.
Story.
I'm putting it out there. It's not Ryan. There's like, if they were to vote Ryan out next, they would be absolutely crazy. He's the stud in that specific tribe. He's the Jonathan that you need pre-merge. You need someone to help you win challenges. He's shown that he can think outside of the box. He's physical. We've seen a little bit of his story, but the focus for the last 2 episodes have very much been on Gio's story, you know, where he comes from. I feel for the guy, man. Getting kicked out of your house when you're like still a teenager, that sucks, man. Like his parents, like, I mean, my golly, I can't relate to what he went through because I didn't have that type of issue where I ever had to come clean to my parents about something and then get kicked out of the house. But I feel for him, man. Like that's strict parents for them to do that to him. He's clearly been through a lot in life. I want him badly to go deeper into the game because I think he's a likable guy, but I feel very much like he's a lamb to the slaughter at this stage because that tribe is being run by the girls plus James, and Ryan is probably going to stick around, I would say, if they had to go to tribal council at this stage. I'm going to read a couple more comments here. Jerome says, Cassidy would definitely fit the Erica winner edit, Chris. Jerome also says, let's get honest, the edit was horrific this ep. They literally gave almost all of the confessionals to the same 2 or 3 people, mostly Jesse, Cody, and Ellie. Owen also got quite a bit of content, and Sammy also got a little bit of content, I would say. So it's a fair comment there. But Jerome, it's interesting because I feel like you can't please everyone. I saw the counter argument for the premiere episode where people were saying they were focusing on too many people. We don't care about all the people that are going to go early. Did you see that?
No matter what. I did see that.
You're always going to get someone upset.
Yeah, I mean, the editors, it's a lose-lose. You know, someone's going to get upset. I think this episode, my only issue is that, you know, maybe show a little bit more of the Blue Tribe. But, like, in general, they showed us what mattered to the episode. So I'm not too
now. Zuduman here brings up, and I think he agrees with you, Jerome. He says, agreed. Cody definitely got a lot of screen time. He's clearly their favorite. Now, I had a really long conversation with Leroux Bueta, which most people won't know who he is on this podcast because they don't watch Survivor South Africa. But if you do watch Survivor South Africa, he's the creative and executive producer for Survivor South Africa. And I went back for a holiday to South Africa. I was fortunate enough to go to the finale after party with the Survivor South African production team and players. And I had a coffee and a lunch with Leroux Bueta, and we had a long chat about many things. And hopefully at some point when his schedule clears up, I'll be able to get him back on the podcast so we can talk about this stuff on air, and he can correct me if I'm wrong in anything that I say here. But his view was that they do the best that they can as production to give people the opportunity to voice themselves in confessionals. But if there's just nothing there, then there's nothing they can do. So they say a lot of the time the fans are unfairly criticizing the production team when certain people just make good TV, like Cody, great example. I mean, how do you not capitalize on a guy like Cody when he's on your screen? Like, I mean, the guy is just personality, charm, crazy man, like a Tony Vlachos type of character. He's always going to get a lot of screen time. And then other people out there may just not be that good at telling a story. Not everybody is great storytellers. Not everybody is great at being in confessionals. And I think that's where the problem sometimes comes in when you've got winners that can't clearly articulate or tell a story of how they're doing what they're doing, but they're still doing the right things and they're winning. But the producers struggle to tell a story for them because they just weren't good at talking to the camera.
Yeah, I think there's a middle ground there. Like sometimes Survivor went so far into like, Purple Kelly. Like, come on. Like what is she like 3 confessionals in 12 episodes? Like that's just no. You need to give her like you got to give her more than that. And the ones that they did give her were like just making fun of her. I think there's some more examples of that, but then also I do agree where it's like there honestly can be like it can be like too even in my opinion. I think like yeah, show them the entertaining people more than the non-entertaining people. I think where the issue stems is I think people kind of accuse production of being more biased towards the
Favoritism.
men
Yeah.
or just certain players in general. Like if you're talking about big moves, then you're gonna
But look at Ellie. Like look at Ellie this season. Like,
yeah.
hate or love her. I know Zuduman doesn't love her too much. Unless Zuduman, you changed your mind in this last week by watching it. I want to speak for you. But Ellie this season, I can tell is going to get a lot of confessionals because she's great at telling a story. And
She
again,
kind of reminds me of Evie.
production. Yeah, so production is showing her because she's good at that. So is it really, and I'm asking the question, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong here. I'm asking the question, is it really that they favor the men? Or is it just that men in general, I'm not wanting to say every man out there, but in general is more confident, maybe is a little bit more willing to put their foot in their mouth and have big and outlandish comments and confessionals, that they show that more than some women who maybe tend to not do that. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I know, but I'm asking the question. Is that maybe also a reason that tends to happen? Because when you look at a Natalie Anderson, or you look at or on a Ellie here specifically, a Evie, we've had some great confessionals from women in the past, but it were women that showed more of an alpha trait to them, if that makes sense.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Because when you look at the history of Survivor, how many women were like super dominant, like alpha female winners? Kim, maybe Natalie Anderson kind of fits in that. That's pretty much it. I mean, you can find Boston Rob.
Sandra got extremely good. Sandra, like I'm not like Sandra Diaz-Twine. Obviously, all the respect, she's the queen, but I'm not her number one stan, right? Like I'm not like she's not like, man, Sandra, I worship the ground she walks on.
Yeah.
But you have to give her credit that every single time that she came back, she got better and better at confessionals. Like even in Australian Survivor, I thought, man, like you could just see she was running leagues around people, and they were giving her a lot of content because she had that personality to her, which I think is important.
Yeah.
Just want to change subject here slightly. Christian Gale asks, just curious, do you think that James is going to be the third zero vote finalist in the finales? I think it's way too soon to call, personally. I don't think you can. Yeah, like, I mean, I've got no idea who's going to be the third person. Like, I actually, at this stage, I think it's more likely James doesn't even get there. Like, from what I'm seeing. Like, I just don't. I don't see I mean, I can't say that he will or will not, but I just don't see anything from him at this stage. And then Jerome also bringing up here, Cody gives me huge Chappies vibes. Another Chris beloved hero. No wonder you're big on him. We all love Chappies. Like both me and Jake love Chappies.
Come on.
Like Jerome took a while to warm up on Chappies that season, but I'm sure he loves Chappies now as well. Zuduman, I just find it so hilarious. His tattoos has got a more pre-merge screen time than Erica at this point. That's a good comment.
That's honestly true. I mean, he had an episode named after his ass cheek tattoo. And then Erica, I think, got like 1 confessional in episode 1. And then just zeros.
Yeah, that was an awesome comment. That's a comment of the day. Jerome Long say, Ellie is super entertaining, Chris. She is full of personality and life, while also extremely strategic. She is an elite confessional talker. That's right.
I think that Ellie is absolutely deserving of all of her confessionals. She's very good at talking, and I think she's just good at expressing her game.
Yeah. Zuduman coming back here saying, agreed, I definitely still dislike her. I'm patiently waiting, and this is Ellie, for her karma to strike when Janine is booted and she's at the bottom. But, that's the thing. We spoke about it last week, Jake. It's so much more fun. Like, you don't dislike, I'm sure Zuderman, because I've spoken many times with him, he's not going to dislike her in real life. But as the player in the game, and the fact that I think Zuderman really wanted for Moira to do well, and she went out early, he's like, now I'm against her. And that's fine. Like, but that makes it fun to watch the show. You need people to root against. Like, it's so important, and it's good. Like, if you found that person, Ellie's not that person for me, but I can see how it is that person for Zuderman, and that makes you want to watch the show because you want to see that person get voted out.
To be honest, I think that's what was kind of missing from 41 and 42. There wasn't that person to root against. Except I think personally I was kind of rooting against Shan in 41, but I think that's a super unpopular opinion. I think most people were rooting for her.
I'm kind of with you. I wasn't.
She was the villain.
100%.
I think she would like kind of admit to being kind of the villain, and it's kind of fun to see the villain win sometimes. But like, if there was going to be someone to root,
I was Team Deshaun that season. Like, I felt bad for him getting to the end and
I think
getting votes.
He got
like Deshaun deserved some votes. He deserved some votes.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyways, I digress. So we go to the immunity challenge. And the immunity challenge here, we're going to have Noel and Carla sitting out. One of the things that stood out for me is that when you watch Survivor South Africa, you always see, and even Australian Survivor, you see people talking in between challenges if they're sitting on the sit-out bench together. Do you think that it's happening in the US and we're just not seeing it because it's not important? Or do you just think that they're not allowed to do that? Because it makes for great entertaining moments when you get these cross-tribal talks happening sometimes at challenges, for instance, where they can try and build some cross-tribal alliances going into like a merge or a swap situation.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch like how close they were to each other. Were they like right next to each other on the sit-out bench?
They didn't show us. They didn't even give us a screenshot of it. But you'd imagine they'd be sitting close to each other, and you'd imagine like this is a brilliant opportunity for them to do something in the game to make some excitement happen.
I'm trying to think. Like, have we ever even seen like people? I know that you just said in US too.
Russell Hans and Colby, when they did the
weren't they in the challenge?
Yeah, true. They were afterwards when they were like hugging and things like that. I don't know if we saw, maybe someone in the chat will know if we've seen people talk to each other from opposite tribes while the challenge is happening, while they're sitting out. Because I feel like that happens a lot in International Survivor, and it has led to great moments. So I would like to see it more in the US as well. It's just something that, again, it's not a twist that you're bringing into the game. It's something that's organic. You're letting the players organically play the game in a different way and think a couple of steps ahead, because now it actually matters who do you sit out? Do you sit out someone that you trust because they're in your alliance and it's okay for them to get information from the other side? Or do you just let the person sit out that you perceive as the weakest challenge person, but they're not in your alliance and they could be scheming against you?
That would add an extra kind of cool aspect to the game, I think. I don't think it wouldn't really come up that much, because I feel like most of the time there's usually only one tribe that is sitting somebody out. But for when there are multiple tribes sitting people out, that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I think so. But in any case, this challenge, so we start this thing off. It's the gigantic snake that they have to move, and I feel like we've seen this before in a few Survivor immunity challenges. Every now and again, it's 400 pounds of Survivor snake that they've got to move out of this cage. And boy, oh boy, did Neka really make a meal of it this episode. Like, I mean, listen, I love Neka. I can relate to her on so many different levels, being from Africa, talking about how Africans watch Survivor and then be like, Jeff, do you know like how passionate we get? Like, girls, sit aside. I'll go out there. I'll do it. That's exactly the conversations that, we have in Africa. Like, conversations I've had with Zoe and Richard, like they're very passionate people, Africans, so I can relate on so many levels, and I want her to do well this season, but she did not perform in this specific episode. Was she the only reason that they lost? I don't know. I feel like it was a combined Dwight and Neka stuff up when it came to getting the puzzle pieces out of the bag at the end, but definitely she didn't do herself any favors.
I was just absolutely shocked the entire time. Like, she was not even like trying the entire time.
She was sitting on the side.
Yes, she was when they were inside the cage where they had to pull she was just hanging on the cage. She wasn't even like pulling. And then when Noel had to keep saying, or one of the other members of the Red Tribe had to keep saying, like, Neka, I need you to like. So I don't. I have nothing else to say other than what.
Do you
in the
feel like
world?
Noel was told she couldn't do that challenge? Like, I feel like this would have been right up her alley, even though she's got a prosthetic leg or a blade that she runs with. I feel like she could have, like, she's physically really fit. There must have been a reason she didn't participate in this thing.
Did
But
she?
in
Does
the
she swim
opening
well?
challenge,
Do you
she
think she
did
swims
swim
well?
out. You remember in the opening challenge, she swam out
Right.
with that
Yes.
leg. So I don't know why they didn't give her this opportunity. Was there a danger in her climbing? And maybe because she doesn't have her extra leg,
Maybe it
like
would
she
get.
couldn't
Maybe it would get
stuck
caught
somewhere.
in the cage or something.
Yeah, they were scared that she wouldn't have the right feeling on it and she could fall. Like, I
That
mean,
is
it
a.
made no sense for me that Noel didn't participate in this one.
Maybe they just did not know how bad NECA was. I can't really remember how well she did in the first challenge or the reward or immunity challenge in episode 1, but I don't remember her being too awful. But so maybe they were just taken off guard by that. But you're right, it was a very interesting choice to sit out the Paralympian when you didn't need to. I'm with you. I don't know why. There must have been another reason.
Yeah, Jerome is saying probably not allowed. Chris, you bet Ropes would adore such a thing. That's for people to sit out and strategize if it was allowed in the first place.
That's a good point.
Zuduman says here, I want to see a lot of international versions transfer over to the US version. I'm assuming you mean a lot of the concepts of what they're doing in international. I feel like, and I could be wrong here, but I feel like Jeff is very protective of what he's doing in Survivor. It's like his way or the highway. He doesn't want to bring in ideas from outside. He's like, I mean, the international version will always have taken more from the US than the other way around, because the international version was first. The US version was first and the international version followed. So that will always be the case. But I feel like you should always be open to other good ideas. And I don't know why they don't talk to each other, like the producers of these 3 English versions of the show. And they should be working collaboratively a lot more, in my opinion, in any case. So I like that idea.
Yeah, I want to say, I think I don't want to, dog on Jeff too much because he is such an icon. The show wouldn't be the same without him. But I really believe that, like, the producers are just kind of a bunch of yes men for Jeff. Like, I think it's just kind of like he proposes something and they all just kind of say, yeah, that's awesome. Like, I don't know if he has anyone kind of keeping him in check. It kind of just seems like it's kind of like he just kind of has free reign and he can just kind of do whatever he wants to the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I feel like, bagging on Jeff gets old after a while. But, like, I mean, I've had my issues with Jeff for a while, and more so about him running the show and the ideas that he's bringing into the show, changing the format of the show, changing, overpowering advantages and things like that, which sometimes I just feel like he doesn't think it through. He doesn't have a really good circle of people that is there to say no to a bunch of things. Like, I'll bring up an example. Shannon Gus, who does the, Rob is a podcast version for International Survivor, a little bit of a free advertisement. Everybody probably knows who she is in any case. I had her on a podcast with me not that long ago where we talked about an international crossover season. And at that point, we were going through ideas and she was like, no to my ideas. Because I'm the same. I'll throw like 10, 15, 20. Like, I won't stop. I'll just throw ideas out there. But you need like a Shannon Gus who will say, no, that's dumb. That won't work for X, Y, and Z. No, that's dumb. That won't work for this. And she kind of does that now for Survivor South Africa with the producers there. She is an advisor to Survivor South Africa. And that's what I love about that franchise. They're open to listening to fan opinion or someone that has got great ideas. Doesn't mean that Shannon probably ran everything and got all of her ideas through, or that they listen to every single thing that she said. But I think that's a good practice. In the US, you can do that with someone like an Adam Klein, who's a winner of the show, who's a big fan, who's thinking outside of the box, also watches the international versions. I think Adam Klein would be a good, addition, or a Rob Cisternino, but he probably would earn less doing that for Survivor than what he does now doing his own podcast.
Yeah. They need somebody. Like I said, he's kind of surrounded by yes men. I think he needs somebody to kind of say, now let's think this through. The hourglass, Jeff. You really think people are gonna like that? You really think that's gonna, like? I think that is proof enough. I mean, 41 had the longest turnover period for any season, going from one to the next, and the best they could come up with was the hourglass. Yeah, and I was just universally hated. I mean,
I felt the hourglass was a step back to the fire tokens. Like fire tokens could have been exciting.
Yeah.
There's more we could have done with fire tokens without the edge.
Yeah, and to think that like he needed to, and Mike White. There's the whole, the story about the fire tokens.
I heard something about Mike White. Yeah, you listen to Mike. Mike White's like
So
Mike White and Tyler Perry is like the two people he listens to, right?
yeah, Jeff basically wanted 41 to be like an even farther kind of idea of the fire tokens. He wanted Survivor to kind of be like an economy. He wanted it to like resemble an economy of like, currency. And Mike White was talking to him, and he just asked him one simple question. He just said, Jeff, do you think this is fun? Do you think this is a fun idea for the show? And Jeff thought that was the most
mind-blowing thing.
What?
We need to be more wacky.
And I'm like, Jeff, you didn't think if it was going to be fun? This is an entertainment this is an entertainment product. Aren't people supposed to be having fun? And I just like, and I feel like Jeff kind of just got too caught up in like, oh, this is so cool. Like, take a step back, have Mike White step in, and kind of they can feed off of each other. I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, but it's funny because his idea of fun was doing the phrases, which I know Jerome was a fan of. I'm not
likes the phrases.
Yeah, I was like, I'm okay with the phrases. Like,
I'm glad
it had his moment. Yeah. It had its moment.
I think it was a perfect like 1 or 2 seasons. Then you're done. Just never do it again. That's just perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Jeff is great at what he does. Like if season wouldn't have got into 43 if he wasn't good at being a great host. But all we're saying is make sure you listen to some other people as well. Bring some other creative thought into it. Otherwise, it is just like you said, too many yes men. People won't tell you if you're driving off the cliff until it's too late. So I do hope that he keeps his mind open. But this season so far has been fun. It has been going in the right direction. I don't want to slam him for what we've seen this season. This season has been so far. He hasn't brought in anything that's too overpowering. Obviously, I just want to finish off to say we get the 2 tribes here winning. So obviously, the first tribe was Baka. So that gives all of the Baka members the full points for winning the challenge outright. And then also Coco does end up getting second place. And that means that Fessy is going to have to go to tribal council. So we'll definitely get into a little bit of some of the craziness that happens with the Beware advantage. But before that, we go back again to Baka, which is crazy to me. This is why I think Baka tribe, they definitely have legs, because why are we going back to them? Like, there's no reason to go back to them. But we get a little bit of confessional from Ellie saying that she used to struggle with ADHD. She had some issues learning when she grew up, and that her teachers always used to tell her that she was going to be a failure, or that she was dumb. Like, what kind of teachers did she have? Like, that does not sound like people that should be teaching.
They're out there, Chris. Unfortunately, I had a few of those. That they didn't say anything to me, but I could see that they were not treating some of the other kids right, and it's just really bad. And I really feel bad for her that she had to go through that. But really, I just think it's really cool that she was able to like be like, no, I'm not worthless. I can actually become something. And look at her. She has a PhD now, right?
A doctorate. Yeah, she's got a doctorate, and even that did not make her believe in herself.
That's crazy. I mean,
childhood stuff, man. Like childhood trauma. Like if you as a kid get like burned, like people go to therapy for years and years after that, and they still struggle with this stuff. And I mean, she is a psychologist, right, herself. So it's like it's strange how sometimes the most broken people themselves end up in psychology. So yeah. But that was an interesting thing to see. I'm really happy for her that she.
Sorry, I need to check on something real quick.
Yeah, you go for it. I'll keep talking us through this. So we get her obviously talking about the fact that she went through this, and then there's this really fun segment that we have with Gabler and her, where they've got their Hawaiian sling that they got, and Gabler being so confident that he can go and catch fish with this thing, trying it out. poor Ali just tries to give him a little bit of advice and say, hey, this is how you need to tie the rope around yourself before you go out there and shoot the sling. Because obviously Ali's got experience, or I believe she's a big fan of the show. She's probably seen many seasons in the past where people have gone out there and they've lost the bloody sling in the water. So she's just trying to give him advice, but Gabler knows better, and he's going to go out there and do his own thing, which was a little bit of a funny segment there. But I feel like that potentially could show that there is going to continue to potentially be a rift between the likes of a Gabler and an Ellie and the girls going into next episode as well. So it's kind of all feeding into one, Jake.
I did not hear all of what you said, but I'm assuming you're talking about
Ellie trying to give advice and Gabler just being like oblivious to it, And
Yeah.
I'm sure some people will go in there and say, "Oh, he's such a misogynist. He doesn't want to listen to a woman." But I don't think. And again, I'm not a woman, so I can't speak. I just think that that's a human thing. Sometimes, if you're the person that is known to be an expert spear fisherman or whatever, you don't want to be told by someone else, regardless if it's a woman or another man, how to do it, because you feel like you should know. You're the expert.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think
definitely a bad move, though.
I don't think there's anything deeper than that. I think he's just, very confident in that he knows best. This guy clearly needs to take some advice from Rupert or Ozzy, because those guys just are machines with it. I mean, I didn't even think
But Rupert doesn't like listening to other people as well. Like, think back about Heroes vs.
I'm
Villains,
saying,
he tried to make a fire, and JT ended up doing it faster than him, and he was really annoyed about that.
I was saying take advice for the sling, because
yeah, fair enough. Not gameplay wise. Like, no one should be taking advice from Rupert on how to play Survivor, the strategic side of the game.
It's funny because I didn't even think how difficult it would be to use the sling, because Ozzy and Rupert just make it look so easy. She's like,
and Joey, same thing. Joey, amazing, same thing. I think Jonathan last season was using it the whole time as well. I don't know how much of it we actually saw. I feel like we maybe got 1 or 2 cut scenes of him being out in the water doing his thing. But yeah, some people are just naturally more inclined to it than others. But yeah, it was a funny little segment. But we go back to Vesey, and this is where the real fireworks happen this episode, right? Because they've got this plan. They know that Jesse, Neka, and Cody, they're going to stay together. They've got the 2 girls that are going to try and vote against Neka. They're trying to throw Neka under the bus. They're not even hiding it to Neka, Jake. Like, Neka's coming out of the water, talking to both Justine and Noel and saying, hey, who are we voting for? And they can't even give a fake name at that point. They're like, we don't know. We need to go talk to the boys. Horrible gameplay by the girls here, right? Because Neka knows most likely it's going to be me.
No, I mean, they're just their body language is just very obvious that they were just acting weird around her. If I were Neka, I mean, that's just obvious. And I think that Justine, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure about if she's ever seen the show before. I think that something was missing there. I don't know how.
She must be a New School fan, or they told her hey, watch these couple of seasons while she was in the interviewing process or something. I don't know. We'll have to listen to the exit interviews. Maybe someone has already heard her. I think she already did a 15-minute exit interview with Rob as a podcast. Mm-hmm. Maybe she talks about it in there, because that seems to be one of the questions that people ask a lot of times. Hey, were you a fan of Survivor before you went out there? But I feel like she mentioned some old school names, if I remember correctly in her bio. I'm pretty sure she mentioned some old school Survivor player names from memory. But let's get into the big one, right? Jerome is bringing it up. He's like, speed this up, Jake, speed this up, Chris. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this episode. Beware advantage. Now, Jerome's sort of asking about the genius of the production in this, and that is we'll talk about that as well. But I just want to focus on Cody first, yeah. In what world, where you're in a 6-person tribe, you've seen season 41, you've seen season 42, you know the outcome is going to be, in fact, it could have even been worse. It could have been you have to wait until the next challenge to say a phrase, but you end up deciding, oh no, I'm good with not voting. I'm absolutely good. I'm just going to open it. Like he said, he just lives his life fast and hard, but he opens this thing up. He loses his vote. Critical time. Now, if you're in that same situation, I know it's easier said than done, us sitting on the sidelines here. But I've got to be honest with you. I've got no interest in picking up any beware advantage. I feel like, firstly, there's a massive target on you when people know you've got it. And most of the times with the beware advantages these days, you have to use other people to get the advantage. So everybody knows you've got it. There's no secret anymore. And then secondly, you could lose your vote in a 6-person tribe. Like, there's no way in hell I pick up a beware advantage at this stage, Jake. What about you? If you saw that there, would you have picked it up?
No. And I can't remember exactly. Was this after the challenge?
Yeah, after the challenge. This literally happened. He said it happened minutes before they had to leave. So they already had their day planned out, strategy, everything. He's like, oh, everything's done. I'm just going to go for a wee walk and see if I can find an idol. And minutes before they have to leave, he goes and picks this thing up, which means they probably had, I don't know, like 20, 30 minutes for him to get the beads.
I mean, how can anyone's answer be something other than no to that? Besides Cody, clearly. I don't
Crazy.
know.
But that's what makes Survivor
world.
so fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anyone else on this season would have done that besides him, which is just awesome. But
and like Zuduman says here, plus it's crazy because he's in a good position.
He was in a good position. He didn't
need a scramble.
No, and he didn't even think it through whatsoever. It hit him after he opened it, like it's gonna be a tie. They're gonna go to rocks. Like,
I love how the Survivor producers put on there, if you don't accept it, put it back where you found it. Because if they didn't, you'd be like Boston Rob and throw it down a volcano, or you'd like throw it into the water. Or you
just like keep it, but just don't open it.
Because... Exactly, or hide it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's gotta suck. Like, I mean, come on, you're a super fan. You go out there, you see an advantage, and you're like, I can't open it, but you just want to because you're just curious. Above all else, like, what does it say? I just want to know what it is.
This could be a game changer. You could be picking up a super idol for all you know. I mean, you just don't know what's in there. You know, you've got no idea. But anyways, now let's talk about the production side of this, right? Because obviously Jerome brought up, let's talk about the production genius, right? What did you think about the fact that they mixed it up this season? They didn't just say, let's do again what we did last season. People have got to go say phrases. There was actually a little bit of thinking that went behind this, that everybody at camp had a bag with some beats attached to it, and those beats had to be combined. With all of these rings combined, you've got the power to be able to create this individual immunity and keep yourself safe, this hidden immunity idol or bracelet, you know? What did you think of this idea, and is production moving in the right direction with this compared to what they did last season?
I think it's better than last season for sure, but I'm kind of flipping back and forth whether maybe they flipped the pendulum too far to the other side. I think last season it was like too obvious that they had the idol, and everyone on the other tribes who also found the advantage knew about their advantage too, because they know the phrases. Whereas this time, now the other tribes don't know. But also, I think the beads may be almost too, I hate to say that it's too easy, because you obviously need social capital, and Cody clearly had that. I mean, if anyone was gonna successfully do that on that tribe, it was gonna be him. But the beads are they just seem so innocent to the other players. It's like, sure, I'll give you my bead. I don't know why wouldn't I? So it's like, is there a lot of challenge there to get the beads? What do you think?
I feel like there was. And I tell you what, Cody was ready to give up on it. He's like, I lost my vote. He wasn't even ready to fight for it. Jesse came to him and said, no, we need your vote. You need to make this thing happen. And it was a massive assist by both Nika and Jesse at camp, the way they were doing it. They made it natural with him with his hat, saying, "Oh, are you gonna wear your hat?" In fact, it was Jesse's idea, use your hat. So I don't feel like Cody was actually the one that should be getting all the marks here. I feel like Jesse came up with the idea originally.
True.
And then Nika, the way she was interacting with the tribe, saying, "Oh, well, come on, Justine, give him some of the beads," or "Noel, don't be that person," like she was really sort of egging them on. They were doing it organically with Jesse and Noel, and Nika first gave the beads. I feel like a lot of skill went into this, where there's a lot of situations where I don't see this playing out the way that it played out and the amount of time that it did. And hats off to that trio for working so well together. But now Cody's got a massive target on his back because he's got an idol that his alliance knows about, at least, so he's going to have to keep them tight.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. I think that is kind of points towards Cody, where it's like he has two people that trust him so much that they're willing to work for him to get an idol. Obviously the biggest part of it was so he could get his vote back, but also like, they're kind of willingly giving him an idol.
Yeah.
And I think that, it kind of balanced it out by him opening it like so soon before tribal. But like if he had like, 2 whole days to do this, I think that just makes it. I think it was the time limit that like kind of balanced it out, but there didn't have to be a time limit on it.
Or he could have picked it up. They could have voted out Justine. He didn't get it in that time limit. And now he's without a vote until the merge because the beads are gone with her in the bag. Like, you got to get all the beads, right? Or what if you opened it up and it's like, how does production balance this? Like, does production take the Beware advantage away after that specific episode if Justine does get voted out?
That's
like,
a good question.
I mean, there's some logistics about this, right? Like, it happened in the right order, but what if the Beware advantage is the exact same thing on Baka? Somebody picks it up and they've already lost the member. So now that person doesn't have a vote.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, like, what if he was able to get all of the beads except for Justine's, and then they vote her out? He doesn't have the vote. Does he now? He's like on the new tribe. He has everyone's beads. Does he? This is kind of hurting my brain. I don't know.
But did you catch on to this though? At the tribal council, when the votes came in, Jesse, man, that guy was working like no one else's business because he somehow got Noel and Justine to split their votes. So they would have been good regardless. Like, he did the backup upon a backup where Justine and Noel voted between Cody and Neka, which ultimately still gave Jesse and Neka the majority vote for where they wanted to go. So they were kind of covered at all bases.
Yeah, he actually didn't need his vote, but that was crazy. Did they show? I actually don't recall them showing. Was it Jesse that convinced them to split the vote?
Yeah, well, they didn't show it, but Jesse was the only one. Like, Neka, they didn't talk to Neka because Neka was the person they were going to vote against. The second person they didn't talk to was Cody because Cody was the other person they were going to vote against. So Jesse was in all the conversations with Justine and Dwight. I didn't see Jesse and Noel talk directly, but I'm sure at that point somewhere they would have had the conversation. What if one of them's got an idol? We need to split some votes here. We've got enough votes to do it. So the one of us don't go home. And I'm sure Jesse's the one who pushed that. Could be wrong. Could be making a lot of assumptions here. I like to believe the guy's playing a really masterful game at this point. Like, I mean, if you can't tell by now, Jesse is by far my pick at this stage. If he can keep that tribe together, because there is some real risk here, it could still all fall, apart for him if Dwight goes in his own direction and Noel goes in her own direction. But this is still a very powerful trio of Jesse, Cody, and Neka, in my opinion. And to be fair, it's probably the alliance I'm kind of rooting for at this stage, the one that I want to sort of prevail.
I do. I like that alliance a lot. It's very.
Because would you have thought Cody and Neka would be like so tight? Like, I mean, it's like they come from different walks of life. They're completely different people. That's what I love about Survivor. People from different walks of life. You probably never would have thought they would become great friends on the show. Right. Suddenly, Neka and Cody are like this unbreakable pair.
I love it, and then add Jesse in there. I mean, it's kind of covered. Yeah, I really like it a lot, and I think Jesse is definitely playing the best of those three. I would be curious to see like what's going to happen between those two, Jesse and Cody, going down the line.
Yeah, I want to see. Well, I feel like Jesse and Cody. I feel like they will. I feel like they're tight. But the only problem here is Jesse might think at some point with Cody with having an idol. Yeah, again, that's why I almost feel like in the new age of Survivor,
be a Marianne Omar situation.
Maybe, like, I feel like in the new age of Survivor, it's almost like it decentivizes you to go and try and get advantages. Like, having advantages, people are shooting each other, they're taking people out, everybody knows about everybody's advantages. You're better off to play that game of sitting back, letting the other people take each other out while you do the social stuff, and then at the end, hopefully you get there by painting targets on other people, like Cody did in the beginning. He didn't need to get an immunity idol. Like, he was being convincing enough, telling people that Justine is a salesperson and we need to take that out. That's dangerous. That's all he needed to do throughout this game. Now he's not only going to be a physical threat, a personality threat because everybody likes him, he's also got an idol. And that's like 3 strikes, you're out at this point for me with Cody. Like, I really feel like at some point he's going to become too big of a target for people to just leave.
Yeah, his craziness is going to catch up to him at some point, but well, you never know. I mean, we probably said the same thing about Tony, but we will
Yeah,
see. I'm really liking this season so far. I'm very excited
I'm
to see where
optimistic.
it's. Yeah.
I'm not negative. Let's finish it off here with what we've still got to do, and this is going to be the draft. I've already removed Justine from the team, which means that I am. Oh, that rhymed. That means I am 2 people down from you. But let's have a quick look at the points. What has happened on the points? And I wish I was prepared. I did have this open before my computer decided to restart itself, so I'm just going to go back into my drive and open this again, and we should be able to go into there. All right, let's have a look. Looking at the teams right now, while I open this, what's your thoughts in regards to the people that we didn't talk too much about? Is there anybody else that you feel like potentially could still be in this for the long haul and could win? We spoke a lot about Owen, spoke a lot about Jesse, Ali at this stage, Cody.
Mhm.
Who else? Who else is there that's still in this?
I think that if anyone on the Blue Tribe is gonna go far, I think it's Carla. I think I'm liking the content she's being given. I think she's in a really good spot. She's kind of in the middle, but she's, seems like she's leaning more towards one side over the other. It's hard to talk about the Blue Tribe because you just don't know. We just didn't hear anything from the supposed majority alliance. We only heard from one confessional from Carla. So I think we kind of covered everyone. I think, Cody, Jesse, Ellie, honestly, even Sammy. I think those 4 are like probably at the top of like people to look out for.
I agree. I do think there are still a few people there, but with the edit at the moment, it's kind of pointing to a few key people, and I do think Sammy is still one of those people that are getting enough airtime to potentially be a threat. But these are the points after episode 2, so you're still in the lead with 107 points for Team Jake. You've got your top point getters at this stage, all equal on 18 points. So you don't have a standout star necessarily in the team at this stage, but you do have a few people that are bringing in the points, and you've got Jesse on 18. You've got Ali on 18. You've got Mike on 18. They've had Jesse 15 confessionals, Ali 15. Both of them have outright won a challenge. And remember, for this draft, they have to be the first team, not the second team. So you have to be first in the challenge to get the points. So both of them have had 3 points for that. And then Mike also had 12, but also had 3 points. Plus, Mike also found an advantage. So even though he's got 3 less confessionals, that makes him 18 points as well. Overall, giving you 107 points there.
Yeah, I think that even though, you've lost 2 people, I have, you got Cody kind of carrying you with the confessionals, and then I've got 5 Blue Tribe people who aren't getting anything. So it's kind of some dead weight on my team at the moment, but it could change.
Well, speaking of my team, so Cody, outright just the person who is the star so far in this season. 26.5 points he's gotten me out of my 86.5. I'm still trailing behind by quite a bit. Obviously, I've lost 2 players. It's going to make it difficult for me going into next week. He's got 1 challenge win. He's got 1 vote against him, but he's also now found an advantage with the potential to get some additional points if he plays that advantage successfully. And second place, and by quite a distance, is Sammy on 13 points, 10 confessionals, 1 challenge win so far, and then followed by Owen in third place for me at 11.5, 9 confessionals, and 1 challenge win and 1 vote against them. There are still some potential, I guess, with James, Noel, and Neka to catch up and get me something. But at this stage, it's not looking too good for me. 2 episodes and you're killing it, Jake.
We will have to see. I think the numbers clearly show I'm killing it. I mean, who's surprised? But we got a whole season ahead of us. We'll see.
Yeah, Jerome also very high on your team, not mine. So Chris, I'm afraid Jake is running circles. He named her twice. You. yeah. It's like potential winners edit-wise: Jesse, Carla, Ali, and Ellie. So I guess Ellie is his winner pick. But I don't see at this stage. I don't think Carla's winning this. I think she's going to be a big character. I just don't see it yet because I feel like who's her army? I don't know. Like we're not getting enough confessionals from her army for me to believe that that army is going to go deep. Where Jesse, we're definitely getting it, and Ali, we're definitely getting it. So those are two good choices there. I'm obviously hoping for the crazy win, like Tony Vlacho's level from Cody at this stage, or Owen.
Cody, yeah.
Maybe Sammy, but they're probably going to go after each other at one point. But I'm not feeling overly confident. All right, well, that is it for episode 2 as we recapped it here. Thank you so much for everybody that joined in the live today. You guys are all studs and superstars. Really appreciate everybody that's been taking part, asking questions. For those that are checking this out at a later stage, please do consider to subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate all the support. Put a like on this video. It helps us get recognized in the YouTube algorithms. And as the channel grows, obviously there's more and more we can do with it. We can bring more people on. It helps with recognition in that as well. But if you're listening to this on any of the audio versions of this, and that is your preferred method of listening to it, we're also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere where there's a podcast, nearly we're on there as well. Still consider just jumping on the YouTube and giving us a subscribe, even if you're going to be listening to it mainly on those audio formats. We really appreciate it. It does help with the growth here on this channel. Jake, that's it. Any final thoughts? Anything we missed?
I think we covered everything.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much, and thank you for being patient. And with this one dropping a little bit later than usual for the live, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.